Converse All-Stars, vintage 2004.
Hi there! Today I decided to drift from my designated niche to talk about product placement. Oh, by the way, this is brought to you by Raid. Just kidding. But imagine. So I was sitting around contemplating concepts of AI and new technology and decided to check a movie I never watched before that covers the concept. 2004's I, Robot. It may be hard to believe for some of the audience, while the rest of the audience will respond with, yeah, that's how time works. But this movie was released about 19 years ago, which means a lot of my fellow Gen Zers haven't seen it. And seeing as we are hitting the point where almost human responses on language models are happening, I felt it was time to talk about product placement. Obviously a logical leap. Okay, so the first thing they show us in the movie is something about robots not being allowed to kill humans, some sort of rules or whatnot. But right after that, we jump into the character's morning routine, which shows us him opening a new package featuring these shoes, putting them on, and he whispers to himself, "Thing of beauty." So let's stop and assess this for just a moment. This movie takes place in what 2004 thought 2035 was going to look like, and the shoes look the same as in 2004. So my question first would be, what took him so long to get the shoes? Surely in 2035, if we are still aspiring to the 2004 standards, those shoes are mass produced and easy to grab by now. Furthermore, and this applies to the scene as a whole and not just the product placement, this scene's not necessary to the plot. It's a waste of time. Then moving into the movie, we are introduced to some more information about the shoes. Yes, these shoes are integral. As the main character, it's Will Smith, goes to visit his grandmother, her first concern is something about his divorce doesn't matter for the plot either. But then it immediately follows up her second concern.
What is that on your feet?
Which prompts a response telling us that the shoe is vintage and from 2004.
Converse All-Stars, vintage 2004.
He bought a 3 decades old pair of shoes, 2004. Which just so happens to be the year that this movie came out. He bought a 3-decade-old pair of shoes in the story. Then, after he added them to his collection, the first thing he did with this hard-to-find 3-pair-old of unopened shoes was put them on and go on a run, ruining their mint condition state. Now, keep in mind, I don't collect shoes. I know there are people who do. It's a surprisingly intricate collecting ring. But I don't think the first thing you do is open and take them out. I think you would want to keep them in their mint condition, similar to how I might keep a figure in mint condition. Also, right after the grandma roasts his shoes, it's just funny.
Don't turn your face up like that. I know you want some. All you gotta do is ask.
No, thank you very much.
Okay, but that's it, right? It's just a few comments at the beginning of the robot movie. Not a huge deal. Kinda weird that I even bothered to make a video about it. Surely it has no further role within the movies, except there's one more scene I think is worth noting. Let me set this scene up. An attempted murder was made on the main character by 20 or so robots. This is the second time this has happened in the movie that there has been an attempt to kill humans, and the first time the robot was uniquely made specifically for the purpose of killing somebody. It was also ruled as a suicide, with Will Smith being the only one that believes a robot was the killer at the start. Alright, so while he believes it, no one believes him. So in this moment, his fear of robots getting out of hand is confirmed. He knows they are capable of killing now. He is also soaked with adrenaline from the fight. He has lost his means of transportation, his car crashed, and there is still a chance he won't be able to convince people to believe the robots might go wild. And this is ignoring the risk of concussion or injury, because this is an action movie and people are generally more durable. So I'll give you 3 guesses what the first thing he concerns himself with after that crash.
Oh, wow. All right. Just get some rest. I'm gonna deal with y'all tomorrow.
That is right. Blood ruined his perfectly good vintage shoes. What else? They are stained and smell like copper. How gross. Unfortunately, they don't show up for the rest of the movie, but this shot right here is toward the conclusion.
Now that I have fulfilled my purpose, I don't know what to do.
And I think they should have added the sneakers to it. So what's my point in all of this? Why talk about the product placement? It's honestly quite simple. You've distracted from the rest of the movie with its presence. This was the biggest criticism I had walking away from the movie. Like, think about how odd it is that this 2035 man decided he wanted a pair of vintage shoes from the year the movie is released. If you were immersed in that moment, this call out broke it while we were still setting up the character. It's not important to the plot, it distracts. And then if you were fully immersed in how he was going to respond to being attacked for the first time by these robots, then the shoes are looked at and that is his primary concern. It breaks the immersion. I normally forget to do this, but this video specifically is kind of similar in nature where I talk about movie flaws. Thank you.